I can't complain. Can't complain.
How's the shop?
Unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
just stupid good. Yeah.
I cranked last year's numbers. It was mental. Like I knew we were gonna beat the year before, but holy shit, I was not expecting that.
I yeah. Let's talk about it on the thing because I was crazy too. It was unbelievable for me. I'm just double checking, making sure. Okay. Okay. All right.
I
Yeah.
figured I'd
So.
enhance the show by like being on it as opposed to just my voice.
Well, sweet. Well, thanks. You
Yeah.
don't have to. I mean, I'm probably just gonna like dump this on YouTube later
All right.
too.
Hey, it's all good.
That's cool. You got a nice little setup back there.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's quite a bit of games. Okay, let me.
That's just one wall, baby.
I downsized quite a bit, so I got a nice little selection off to my left here. But all right, let me start this. Welcome to the Game Store Guy podcast. This is episode 164. I'm your host Kevin, CC Game CEO, the Game Store Guy, and I have another Game Store Guy back by popular demand, Gregg from Game Trade. Game Trade in De Pere. Is it De Pere? De Pere.
De Pere, Wisconsin, which is
De Pere,
essentially like a suburb of Green Bay.
Yeah. So how's it going, Gregg? How's the store going? How's everything going?
Whew. Well, I don't know about you, but this week has finally started to get back to normal a little bit. But it was nuts. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Like the months between, I mean, like everyone goes, yeah, duh, it's a holiday, so it's busy. But it was different this year. Like the month of December, especially. I don't know what was in the water. I don't know what was going on, but it was different. It was different, and it was banging. I don't know what
Yeah.
else to say.
Yeah, I had one of my busiest months in like a decade. It was crazy. Black Friday for me, I did double what I did last year, and
Yeah.
yeah, if I can combine the last 2 years, I did more money. It was just unbelievable. So
Well,
I don't.
the
Go
crazy
ahead.
thing too is like we beat last year by like I think I comped 50%, which is crazy at like year 11. But I also was closed,
Yeah,
Black
you.
Friday. I
Mhm.
was closed the weekend after Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were closed. New Year's Day after we were closed because that was the weekend. Like, I mean, technically that's not this year. That's this year, not last year. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, so we closed plenty, and it somehow like still just blew it away.
Yeah, I see that you close, man. That's great for your employees and stuff. My employees, like, they don't want me to close because they want the hours and stuff
Right.
like that. So
Well, my guys are
look,
salaried, unfortunately, so they're
oh,
they're like, "Oh
well,
shit, yeah, give me the free day off."
yeah, I don't do salary, but yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. How everybody staying healthy up there for the
Yeah,
most
we're
part?
doing good. I had a part-timer unfortunately just went out
Mhm,
with COVID, but he hadn't worked since before Christmas, so
mhm.
he didn't expose any of us. So while it
Okay.
sucks to lose the coverage, I mean, he's good, his family's safe, but it kind of threw my schedule into tizzy, but thankfully it didn't like expose the rest of us because if we have a scare like that, I mean, essentially we all work together almost every
Yeah.
day. So it's like if someone has to quarantine for like a week, we just have to close the store. Like there's like
Yeah, there's
nothing
no
else we
way
can do.
around it.
Yeah.
My business partner, luckily, he wasn't at the store, but he was wondering if he had it. Like he had a cold or whatever, but he ended up getting tested and was negative. So we dodged a bullet there. Or at least I did because I had probably been working a lot. Luckily, me and him
Yeah.
are kind of opposites all the time. So what's been selling for you? What's been the hot thing?
Oh man, everything. I don't think I can narrow
Everything.
down a category. I think it's whatever we have like rotate for as far as like retro stuff, it's whatever rotation we have of hotness at that moment. So like if we get a big NES trade in, NES is hot. We get a big bunch of GameCube games are hot. I think the only thing that's not really hot is anything Sega. Maybe Dreamcast and Saturn still move, but like Genesis is just a graveyard at our store, which
Yeah,
is crazy because we have so much good Genesis stuff.
I
But
was actually going to get into that too with Sega because me and you were kind of going back and forth on Twitter about the people complaining about the prices of video games, and
yeah,
it always boggles my mind. Like, start collecting Sega. There's like a gold mine there.
I
There's all kinds of
yeah.
good games.
I'm this close to just starting a YouTube series of like good cheap games, which I know ultimately then if those videos would take off, it would make those cheap games expensive, which happens with
Ah,
certain other YouTubers.
yeah,
But yeah, man, I like people. people complain about the prices. There's so many good cheap games out there to buy. It's
Yeah.
just that you want the rare, super expensive games, but you want them cheap. Like these people, it's so frustrating to me because there's a ton of great games out there cheap if you want to go get them.
Hmm.
But they don't. They want to play the games that they saw their favorite YouTuber play, which like a million other people watched. So of course the market's gonna fluctuate on that game because everybody wants it now. Because you know,
Yeah, yeah. Usually, when somebody comes in looking for that and they have like sticker shock, I just tell them, go emulate it. If you really want to play it, emulate
yeah,
it. Because I don't know, I guess let's get into the pricing that people are bitching about. So lately on YouTube and Twitter, people have been bitching about the prices of retro games going crazy. Greg, I listened to your podcast. That was a good podcast.
my
Go
rant cast.
Yeah, go listen to Greg's podcast. But where can you tell everybody where they can find your
Oh, well, thank
podcast?
you, man. So it's Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud. Just look for Game Talk Radio. That's the gig.
Hmm.
I haven't been doing much lately. I like normally I take a break for the holiday anyway, but I hadn't done a podcast since like August because I'm just like wiped, like no creative energy whatsoever. And
I
then
feel you.
and then but I saw people bitching about that on Twitter. I'm like, okay, thank you for like bringing me out of retirement, whatever it was, like whatever I
Yeah.
had for that podcast was brought out of me by
So
people bitching on Twitter.
So like one of my pet peeves too, and this is like one that always gets brought up with that topic is people say, "Oh, well, the person that made the game or the company that made the game is not getting any money when stuff's resold," and it drives me nuts because I guarantee you live in a used house, you probably drive a used car, and you didn't send any money. My grandpa used to build houses. Should my grandpa get money or my family get money every time that house flips again? Like that he built. It's one of the dumbest arguments, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's an asinine thing, and so I'm torn because I do understand that like to enact change, radical change, you have to like, have new ideas and fight for them, right?
Mhm.
But ultimately, it's like that's just how the world works. I don't know what else
Yeah.
to say. Like, and I know yes, you want the world to change, but I mean, a lot of people don't. A lot in
Mhm.
that regard, I should say. Like they want to be able to own things and be able to resell them. And,
Mhm.
which is funny because these people often talk about like ownership rights of
Mhm.
physical games over digital, and they talk about things like that, but then they don't they'd be happy with it if they were the ones who already had it and could sell it for money, but since they're the ones who want it, then they're not happy with the way the system works because it's not in their favor right now. It's just I don't know, it's just such a weird thing for people
Yeah.
to get upset about.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And like I get people all the time, they'll come in, they'll look for a game that they may have played as a kid, and then they get sticker shock, and I'm like, I don't know, that's the going rate, man. I'm sorry, I don't know what
Well,
to tell you.
I had a guy too, and he's like a friend of mine. He knows the business. He's been coming in for years,
Hmm.
and he just goes, it was like this game in the glass case. It was like Tecmo NBA basketball for NES is like $12 now. And
Hmm.
he's like, What's up with this? This used to be a $5 game." I'm like, I mean, it's everything's worth more. I mean, essentially, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
I
inflation's
couldn't
part of
tell
it
you.
too, Inflation's raising the cost of everything. So when money's worth less, everything sells for more. That's part of it too.
Well, and like for the reason it's been going up for the last couple years, and people want to relive a happier time, like that was
Hmm.
always fueling this stuff. But then you make the world like particularly like shittier place. So then it's like, okay, well, since the world sucks a little bit harder now, I'm gonna fight a little harder for the happy times. And it's
Yeah.
just it's like I think people think this is original to them. Like they were the only one who had the idea, like, you know what, I'd be really happy if I could just go buy some old Nintendo games, and they think they're
Yeah.
the only one thinking that, and like
Yeah.
literally millions of people are like, man, I want to get Nintendo games too.
Yeah. Yeah. I the one thing I was when I was listening to your podcast, I heard you talk about like the people that come in and they don't know what to get, and you kind of recommended gift cards, which I do that a lot. But man, I feel like this year I had more people just like stealing my time, like sucking my time, and just asking a billion questions, and and
Mhm.
then they would buy like a $5 or $10 item, and I was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't worth it. Like all the time I spent with you, and that's all you buy.
Yeah, that's what's so wild is normally I'll spend that much time with somebody and they will buy a 50 it's like to sell them $100 weird
Hmm.
system or to sell them like a Vectrex or whatever. And then, you're explaining what a Vectrex is, but then this time of year you have to explain what Wii Sports is to a grandma and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
and then they don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how else to explain this.
Yeah. The best is when you have to try to explain Xbox One S or Xbox Series S or Xbox X or Xbox Series X to somebody that has no idea. Like, I want to kick in the nuts whoever named those systems.
Yeah.
That and the Wii and the Wii U drives me nuts. And when it's just an average person, they have no idea.
Yeah, well, and, like, even today, I had someone message us and like, "Oh, hey, do you have any 3DSs?" And we're like, "Oh, okay." So you look at it, 3DS, 2DS, 2DS XL, 3DS XL, new style 3DS XL. And then so they're like, 3DS XL. So I'm like, "Well, all I have right now is a new style 3DS XL, which used are over $200. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy."
it's crazy.
So they're over what they were new when
Mhm.
they were,
Ho-
being sold before.
ho-
And,
Oh, go ahead.
and so, she's like I send her the price, she's like, "Oh, do you guys price match GameStop?" I'm like, "Well, we usually beat GameStop on everything, so I probably will, like, what do you want me to price match?" She's like, "Well, they have 3DSs for 139." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's a 3DS XL, not a new 3DS XL." And then I'm, like, typing all this stuff out, and I'm like, so I basically said,
Yeah.
so in this instance, I said, "Plus the 3DS XLs they don't even have them. They say you have to find one locally at a store, and there's not even one within like 100 miles
Yeah.
of our store. So, like, sorry, no, I'm not going to price match it because it's not the same
Yeah.
item, but also because they don't have them. So I'm not going to price match GameStop when they don't have it.
How, how
So
did how did it go for you with returns and stuff? Like, did you get a lot after Christmas or?
not bad actually. Our returns. I mean, we still are in the return window for us.
Mhm.
Like we do January 25th as
Yeah.
like the return window for like holiday stuff, but no, we're pretty good. Had a couple issues, like a couple things not working, but for the most part, everything was fine. We had someone reach out and swear that they bought a PS4 flight stick from us,
Mhm.
and we hadn't had one since the summer, but she was hell bent and determined and like convinced that she bought one from
Yeah.
us
Does your
just a month ago.
register like keep track of like when you sold that last?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so, like, I looked at the SKU and I'm like, "Well, she said she paid 80 for it. The last time we
Mhm.
had it was over the summer for 60." So then I was
Yeah.
like, "Well," I'm like, "Are you sure you got it here?" And she's like, "100% sure I got it from you guys about a month ago." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well," so I even offered to return it at the $60 price. And she's like, "Okay, thanks. We'll just come pick out something else for the 60 bucks." I'm like, "Okay." And she sent a picture, it has the original box and everything. So I'm like,
Mhm.
"That's fine." And then she still hasn't come in, yo, and that was, like, the day after Christmas, so I
Oh.
she's just gonna show up, like, in a month or something and expect to do it. I'm like,
Oh.
I mean, it will do it, of course, it's
Yeah.
whatever, it's in the grand scheme of things, $60 is just, like, this
Yeah. I'm
minute
pretty
amount.
I'm pretty lenient this time of year. I'm just like, just whatever. That's fine. If I know you got it from me, I'm pretty
Ye
lenient. I've been really good though with returns. I got to knock on wood. We've been bizarre, not many at all. So,
Well, that I noticed that last year we had hardly any, and I
mhm,
was, like, nervous almost by that because I think, "Okay,
mhm.
so did we just get really lucky, and then this year it's gonna, like, hit us tenfold?" And most of the stuff that came back was a mistake on our part, like, there was, like, it was a markdown game, like, it was a $5 game marked down to $3 in our overstock bin, and we forgot to mark it down $3, so it wasn't even really a return,
Yeah.
it was more like an issue they noticed, or we forgot to do a buy to get one free on those because 'cause they're also buy to get one free, and so it was more of, like, a few mistakes we made like that during the busy time as opposed to, like, defective merchandise. I think we had a
Mhm.
Forza 6 come back for Xbox One that looks perfect and just doesn't install, so you're like, Okay, but most people are totally understanding, and a
Yeah.
return is like the ultimate opportunity to win a customer forever. Like, you take care of them, you do it right, and like it's like you win them over. And I don't know,
Yeah.
I think it's just a way to build loyalty anyway. So really, I look at those opportunities like, here's someone I'm gonna net in, and like I'm gonna kill them with my superior customer service
Yeah.
and make them just fall in love with us all over again.
Yeah, there's that, and I always did look at it like that's like my it's like my grade card on how we did for the Christmas. If I get a lot of returns, maybe we didn't do so hot. So
Yeah, that's good. That's accurate. Yeah, I like that.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about: have you had any? Well, actually, I looked at your reviews online, and
Sure.
you have slightly better reviews than I do. But I got one the other day, and it like pissed me off. I got like a 3 from a guy, but we did like he like gave us a glowing review, but gave us 3 out of 5 on Google, and it just pissed me off.
Yeah.
We're like, well, why
Yeah.
you only give us a 3 if you're like really liked us and said how well the staff was and everything? Have you had any that have bugged you like in the past?
Well, so I'm like a stupid perfectionist with this. Like I shouldn't even care because it's ultimately not that big a deal, but it means a lot to me. But no, we today like just today we got one and it was a 4-star, no comment. I'm like, what did
Wow.
we like? What did I do that was really good but not good enough for 5 stars? Like that, those almost drive me more nuts than a 1 or a 2. Because a 1 or a 2, obviously, we piss somebody off like that.
Right.
That my brain can comprehend, but I can't comprehend this 4-star like, and
Yeah.
nothing said. Like, where's my 5? Give me my
Uh,
5.
I got a 4 from like a regular a few weeks back, and we're like my business partner responded to it. He's like, "Really, only a 4? Like you're like what
It's
a
like, dude, we just talked last week, man. What is this for?
what's up?" Yeah. But I got a negative one recently, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where actually it was a 3, but he said I used to get good deals all the time, but now the prices have risen on the retro games, and so he gives us a 3 because prices have risen, and he can't get great deals anymore on some of the old retro games that he wants. Obviously, he wants the rare stuff.
Right.
And if you've
Eh,
been collecting that long, you're probably down to the expensive stuff.
yeah. Have you noticed, to go along with that a little bit, like, have you noticed how more and more people talk about the value and the price of things?
Hmm.
Like, it used to, I swear when I first opened, man, it was just memories, good times, good memories, get good games. Now it just, every single person almost, it seems, is just, oh, this is valuable. I want this. This is money value. Like the whole like the scales have tipped completely where now it just seems like the majority of people are like they just want to talk about the value of things and the money of things as opposed to
Hmm.
like it actually just being a cool item to have, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that a little bit. But where I'm at is more. It's still I'm still in a lower income area, and so a lot of the higher end stuff is out of the price range for
Yeah.
people in my areas. I don't get a lot of huge collectors in. I get some, but that's usually I get them in the summertime when people are moving around a little bit more and traveling, kind of coming through the area for like when they're headed towards Cedar Point to go visit there. So I'll get a lot of people from out of town, and they're like blown away, and they'll buy my high dollar stuff. But usually I don't get a lot of I guess higher class people. I get a lot of lower income, and they
Sure.
just they want the cheap stuff. So I do sell a lot of the cheap retrons, and I sell a lot of the cheap retro games when they're looking to play the old stuff.
That's great. Well, and so I'll go back to what you said earlier about the, telling a customer like, yeah, like emulate it.
Mhm.
I totally agree with that. I say that all the time. I think people should be able to experience these. I don't
Yeah.
care if somebody, if somebody says, hey man, I can't afford, this game. I said on my podcast it was Clock Tower 2. But like a lot of people say like, oh yeah, I can't afford $150 PS1 game that I'm gonna play one time, but I really want to play it with my friends. I'm like, download it and play it. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? The only thing I don't really like about that is one, people who say that downloading is better, or that
Yeah.
like, or who scoff at people who do buy the games and then just say, why would you buy that when you can just play it for free? Like, there's a weird arrogance there that I
Right.
really don't like. But yeah, like if you can't afford to play the game, like still play it. Go play it. Who cares? Like I
Hmm.
don't think any of us. I mean, I'm sure there are game store owners that don't like that, but for the most part, like we don't care. And we'll help you get a Super Nintendo Classic, and they just tell you to go mod it. I won't mod it for you, but you can go mod it
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
And and then we'll be there. Like I don't know about you, but I'm celebrate games with people, so I'm just kind of
Yeah.
like, it's totally fine. Like let's talk about how good the game is. Who cares how you played it?
Yeah.
Like just kind of build the community a little bit with it. It doesn't have to, like, it's not, I don't like the idea that gaming is gate kept by people who only have the money to collect, because I think
Right.
that's kind of messed up too. So it should be enjoyed by everyone.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That's why I have no problem with emulation. I'm fine with it. I do it myself. Have a Raspberry Pi with like 10,000 games on it
Yeah.
that I own legally, probably somehow because I
Well,
own a game
there's
store.
always that one weird caveat that people say is that if you've owned the game at one time, you're allowed to own a ROM.
Yeah,
I think that's only technically if you make your own
right.
copy of that cartridge when you had it. But being game store owners, we're in that weird position
Yeah,
where you're like, well, I technically owned like every game on the NES
yeah,
at some point.
yeah. I'm and lately I've been talking about this on my podcast. I've been into like ROM hacks and stuff like that. So like stuff that didn't exist, I'm kind of cool with playing playing like a translation of a Japanese game that never came here in
Yeah.
America. That's awesome. I love that stuff. So I'm all about that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been going kind of nuts. There's a really awesome website called romhacking.net,
Yeah, I
and
use it all the time.
yeah, it's awesome. And they have like I mostly I don't really go for ROM hacks, but I go for the translations. And so I'll see, oh, this PS1 RPG that only came out in Japan was just fully English translated release. And so I'll buy the import. It's like $10 or something because Japanese
Mhm.
RPG imports are super cheap. So I buy that and then I play the translated ROM. And it's just cool to have for the collection plus, to be able to play it and understand it. So I'm totally with you on that. Yeah.
Do you sell a lot of the import games at your store? Like, do you get a lot of like, old cartridges or any of that stuff?
Um, so we had a lot of Super Famicom games come in a couple years ago because I think somebody was buying them on eBay,
Mhm.
the huge lots, because you can still get those huge lots, but they
Yeah,
used to be a lot cheaper. No,
yeah,
like you used to be able to buy like 200 Super Famicom games for like $100 shipped,
yep.
and a lot of it was like baseball games and like mahjong games and horse racing games. But so we had someone sell us a bunch of those, so I have some left over from that. It certainly does not sell very well. It is kind of a dead category.
Yeah, I've tried Famicom games in the past, like especially the Super Famicom games, and they don't sell all that well. But lately, I did just get like I don't know, I got about like 40 N64 games that were imports, and I'm down to like 5 of them. I sold them pretty good. Like,
Nice.
and it's kind of it's pretty easy to play them for those that people like listening. I mean, it's just a physical lockout, so it's real easy to open up your N64, take that little piece off or break it off or however you want to do it. Or I do sell like little adapters that let you play Japanese games on your
Yeah, and it's easy to
N64.
swap, like, a back too, like, you
Yeah,
can put an
yeah.
English back on it.
Yep, yep.
But, there's actually like, one of my guys just bought one recently, you can get a little replacement piece for the 64, so you'll take the
Mhm.
old piece out, put this new one in, and then it doesn't have that stupid bump in it.
Yeah, I was actually I just got a 3D printer and I was looking at you can 3D print the piece too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I just got my 3D printer a few days ago. I talked about that on my last podcast. It was a freaking ordeal to get it, but I got it. So this is a little update for people that listen to my last
Nice.
podcast. I'm working on it. Been printing all kinds of cool little video game knickknacks and stuff like that, and it's actually really cool.
My wife's actually, we're getting ready to print for the store because right now we have our glass cases and we have our
Mhm.
DS games in glass cases, but they just lay flat.
Yep.
So we're gonna make these little waterfall tiers that they kinda
There's
stand up in.
I found some of those on Thingiverse.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
I might
yeah,
reach out to you for those then, because
yeah.
I found some, but I don't know if they're exactly what I want, so I might check out the ones you found because 'cause that'd be pretty
Yeah, I
awesome.
have I have them downloaded. So I was
Nice.
I w- you're, we were thinking the same thing. I was gonna do the same thing because I have a cabinet where all my GBA games are, and I have like 3 of them laying flat and then one standing up, and then I got another shelf. I don't have a good way to display them, so definitely gonna do that myself. So one thing I wanted to let's change the topic a little bit. I want to talk about one of your favorite people of all time. I got to meet somebody that I know you really like. I got to meet Billy Mitchell.
Wow. Well, wow, congratulations.
Just for everybody that knows, Greg does not like Billy Mitchell, but I just wanted to tell you my impression of him. I know you don't even have to. I know
No,
you don't.
please do. I love
No,
it. I love it.
Here's the thing. I've always thought he comes off as the biggest douche in the world. To be honest, I've seen all the videos. I'm pretty sure he cheated, or there was a version of MAME running. Maybe he didn't even know. I'm sure he knew, but I met him in real life, and I was expecting him to be a big douche, and he was actually pretty cool. To be
Yeah.
honest, he was actually pretty nice. At least to me, he was nice. And I went to Free Play Florida a few weeks ago, and it was a big just arcade and pinball convention, and he was there, and I was just filming, doing my YouTube, doing a walkthrough, and I started talking to him, and he was actually pretty good dude. Later on, I saw him playing Pac-Man, and there was like 6 or 7 people watching. So I was like, I'll go up and I'll watch. And to be honest, he's he definitely is really effing good at Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And he was explaining like everything. He was actually being maybe I just caught him on a good day, but he was being really friendly, explaining how he was doing everything. I was like, I'm watching him play, and I was actually pretty impressed because I couldn't concentrate and tell people what I was doing, at the same time. When I play games, I'm like super focused. So I don't know. It kind of changed my opinion of him, but I know you don't like him. But I just
So
wanted to share that with you.
I no, that's awesome. So I don't hate him. So
Yeah,
I don't know him. I've never met him.
yeah,
I think what I always say is it seems to me like he's playing a character all the time. Right? Like he loves the role of the villain.
yeah.
And like in King of Kong, like you could tell that was angled to make him the villain,
Hmm.
but I think he loved that. I think he ate that up. I think he loves there's something like this 80s like movie villain like
I
persona
agree
that
with
he
you.
loves,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so it's funny because like I owe any semblance of internet fame that I have and YouTube success I owe to him because the videos I did on him, which were at first it was Todd Rogers and then him, I just
Hmm.
was making a video which would get a couple hundred views at most and no big deal. And then all of a sudden I'm rocking 100,000 views on some of these videos.
Hmm.
And like it doesn't matter what you say, you've pissed off somebody. So like you could say
Right.
that like I shot this right down the middle. I'm like, I don't know the guy. I don't dislike him. I think he's pretends to be a bad guy. I do think he was playing on an emulator, but to play Donkey Kong even on an emulator and do that is still incredible.
Yeah.
Like it's just against the rules for that high score, but
Right.
to argue that he's not good at the game is kind of like doesn't make sense because he's very good, like top 10, 20
Yeah.
probably in the whole world. Like that's
No,
nothing to
definitely. Yeah.
definitely better than me. But so you say that and then someone's like, "Oh, you're a Billy ass kisser." I'm like, "I'm not, but okay." And then if you don't go hard enough on him or if you go too hard on him, then it's, you're just a hater and and you're jealous of his success and I'm like, I'm not jealous of him. But no, I don't even care. I had to stop doing Billy Mitchell videos because like it was the only thing on my YouTube channel that was successful. And I'm like, this is so obnoxious. And I was starting to turn to that guy where every piece of news I would like scoop it and then try to like make a story out of it. I'm like, oh, this is so gross. Like that's not my YouTube style at all. I'd rather be more of an educator and like I wanted to share the news with people, not be like drama alert. I just ugh. But no, that's awesome though. Like I almost crossed paths with him a couple years ago, right when I was making my videos, because
Uh-huh.
he came to Midwest Gaming Classic. But that year it was a crazy snowstorm, and they closed down the highway between Green Bay and Milwaukee, so I couldn't
Uh-huh.
get down there. Like they straight up canceled. They shut the roads down, and I wasn't gonna drive in that mess, even if they hadn't closed the roads down. And so, but he was there, and that's where he did like his infamous like I'm not a cheater video, and he like did the whole shoot, and
He
I was like, damn, like I could have been there.
he was selling you could get his autograph and I did. I'm not an autograph guy, but he was selling big stickers that said not MAME on them and he would
Oh
autograph
my
them.
god. I mean, why not lean into it, man?
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
he
like
definitely leaned into it. It was actually, he totally is funny. I expected him to be a big douche and he totally changed my opinion of him, but I still think he cheated.
see, that's great though because like it is cool to meet people that you've seen and to like find out that they're not total like shitbags. So that's
Yeah.
nice. That's cool, man. And you got to go to a big like arcade convention in Florida. Like that's all good stuff, man. Nothing wrong with that.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I had some other opinions of some other guys, but I'm not going to get into it. I already talked about it on my podcast. But so did you? There's one other switching gears a little bit again, kind of going back to retro games. Did you happen to see like the Wada Games release a population report?
I did. I did. That was actually really good, fascinating information. So I was like, all right. They only had to get bullied into it to
Yeah.
do it, but I'm glad they did it.
And so what that is for people listening is they released a report of whatever games they've graded. So you get to see like how many Super Mario Brothers threes, for example, they've actually graded, and how many have been sealed or how many have been just complete in box or whatever. And it's actually really really telling to see some of these games aren't as rare as you think they are. Were there any surprises? Anything that you thought?
Not really. I mean, I
No.
looked at it and I thought, okay, like you've done 10 of this game, 10 of that game.
Hmm.
Like that makes total sense to me. And now them not doing that report before selling $1 million Super Mario 64 and all that stuff, like
Yeah.
that, I mean, I don't know. It's just the whole thing stinks. But it's good to see that. And then it was really neat because I have a sealed. what I would probably say is easily a 9.8 or a 9.6 A++ Maniac Mansion for NES,
Mhm.
sealed, and I'm like, "This is gonna be," like, I think they only ever graded 1 sealed one,
Ooh.
and I was like, "Oh, that's fantastic news."
Yeah,
So,
that's good news for
not
you.
that I'm gonna ever have it graded by them,
Yeah,
but it's still cool to know that there aren't a bunch of that specific game out there, so.
yeah. So have you been selling anything new in the store? Like what uh, any new products? You've been going with like plushies or you've been selling more toys, anything?
Not really, just the
Anything?
accessories, we do a lot of the Hyperkin stuff.
Mhm.
I'm signed up with Video Game Advantage now because I couldn't get any PS3 controllers through Hyperkin, so I'm like, "Just give
Yeah.
me this old school crap, like, I don't care. Just give me something I can sell to customers, please."
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and actually, they're not bad, like,
They're not bad. I use them.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy with
Yeah.
what you're getting and the prices and everything at
Mhm.
both those places, so, not really, like, the plushies is something I wanna get into, and that's what's cool about Video Game Advantage, they do a little bit more of that stuff, like, you could get
Yeah.
into, like, anime statues if you want to,
We
um
sell a decent amount of those.
yeah, they would move, and, like, if I had room in my store, I would totally consider it,
Uh,
in fact, I've thought about opening just, like, a Japanese pop culture store
mhm.
somewhere else, and then just being like, "Hey, I have a bunch of statues and wall scrolls," and,
Ironically though, I mean I'm still like I'd say 95% video games. I'm probably like 5% plushies and anime statues and pop figures and stuff like that. But um I did just do move a bunch of stuff around in my store. Um God, just to make room for everything, I shrunk down my PS3 section, my Xbox 360 section. I expanded my Switch. My Switch is like section is out of control. Is there
I need Switch games so bad. It's like I can't keep more than 20 in stock at any given time. It sucks.
really,
Yeah.
really? See, I don't have that problem. I have a whole wall of Switch. So,
Damn.
are you have? But I sell new. I know you're just used. So, I would be pretty low if I just sold the used stuff though. Um, is there any like system you're having trouble getting in, or is it just PS4s, Xbox Ones?
We're pretty late on everything. PS4's totally out. Xbox Ones, we have a couple. Even PS3s and 360s we're low on. We
Yeah, I'm
don't
low on those too, but
yeah, which is kind of weird. We got a couple Dreamcast now, we got a couple 64s, got a couple cubes. So really I'd say we have almost one of everything.
mhm.
But normally in the like during the summertime we'll have like 10 of everything. So we're definitely late coming out of this Christmas. But that's what happens when you do like when we do a year like we did. I mean it's never we've never had a year like that. And if I had to look in the past, it's like 10 times my first year, And
Wow,
so it's hard to
awesome.
believe that like 10 years later you're doing 10 times what you did
See,
back then.
it's not as good as I didn't have as big of years as I had in the past. I'm talking like I've been, pre digital games and stuff like that. Before Xbox Live was a huge thing. When everybody would line up to buy Call of Duty at midnight and stuff
Right.
like that.
Man,
But
those are the days.
yeah, it's never going back to that. But I'm talking,
No.
I did more than I ever have since GameStop came to town, and that was about a decade ago for me. So, um, and they did take some of my business, but I'm starting to take a lot more of their business because they don't have anything. People complain all the time that they don't have anything in stock. And I went into one the other day and just to look around, and it was good lord, they didn't have anything in stock. It seems like nowadays they just try to like if you're looking for a controller or something, they'll be like, "Oh, well, we can send one to your house." That's
Yeah.
their pitch. So, are you still having trouble getting like PS4 controllers, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, official ones have been a real shit show, uh, but the off-brand ones work really well. Like the Circa ones, I think, are
Hmm.
the brand that Hyperkin carries, and
Yeah, those aren't
like they're
bad.
they're surprisingly really decent.
Yeah.
So I mean, but you can get cheap ones on Amazon too, and I don't know how to get them at that price to sell at that price, like to get for a lower price to sell at
Hmm.
that price because you can buy them like $25 on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that stuff's hard to find. I mean, Joy Cons are impossible. Even Wii remotes, like Wii remotes and nunchucks, I have to carry new off-brand
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
official ones, which there's hundreds of millions of Wii remotes out there, and we don't have any. It's just crazy to think. Even Wii systems, normally, like around the summertime, we're sitting on 30 or 40 Wiis, and I start panicking, and I'm like, guys, we gotta stop buying Wiis. Like, this is. But then every year I say that, and then we
Yeah.
get after Christmas, and I'm like, guys, we need to buy Wii's. What are we
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, that happens to us, and then you kick yourself if you run out and you're like, "Why did we stop buying any of those?"
Yep, I just start taking them in still just for less, and I'm like, okay, we
Mhm.
have 30 Wii's. I'm like, so instead of paying $35, I'm gonna pay $25.
Yep,
Are you cool with that? And the people are like, just take it. And then I go rummaging, and I find a lot of Wii's rummaging. So you're like, okay, it's just something that people sell typically, especially in the summer. Like nobody gives a rat's ass about the Wii. And then
yeah,
holiday comes around, and it's like everybody's holiday party surrounds Mario Party, Mario Kart, and Wii
yep.
Sports. So it's
Did you
great.
have you gotten any really, like, awesome trades lately or anything?
Trades have been unreal, man. Do you
Yeah,
remember? Did I think I told the story? Did I tell the story on here about the Nazi Alabama trade?
yeah, I think
I
you
told
did.
that story,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that wasn't me. That was somebody I know bought this crazy big collection because he was scared of the guy because he came out with no
Mhm.
shirt on, a Confederate flag, a Nazi tattoo, and a pistol on his hip.
Oh, Jesus.
And so he basically all his trades were trash. Just quick recap: all the trades were trash, but he didn't feel safe, so he bought them still. It's like a
Yep.
huge collection, like $25,000. This guy paid for this
Oh,
collection, and it's all essentially trash. Like I would say I could have plucked $1,000 of good stuff out of it, but everything else
mhm.
was pretty much trash. Anyway, so the guy that brought that to me, the guy who got scared into buying it, uh, he uh he contacted me the week before Christmas and was like, "Hey man, like I'm in financial trouble. I need to offload these 1,500 games I have. Like, can you buy it? And can you give me X amount of dollars for it?" And I said, "Well, oh boy, let's take a look." And so I'm like, "Send me some pictures, like give me some info." And he did. To be fair, he did right away. And I ended up buying that like the Monday before Christmas. So there
Nice.
was good stuff in there, a lot of basic stuff, which we're actually still inventorying now. Like I'm still not through it. But we've been slamming. Like just today, someone I finalized a trade with a turbo and like 20 turbo games.
Damn, nice.
Um, oh man, it was all, I mean, you never see turbo stuff.
No,
Virtual
never.
Boy and like 10 Virtual Boy games. And then a guy came in with like everything else he wanted to sell, except he kept his Chrono Trigger and his Final Fantasy 3, which made me sad for Super. But he had like an NES with 20 games, like a mint in box Final Fantasy 1. He had a bunch of really good Genesis games. He had a Dreamcast and like 30 Dreamcast games, and he had,
Nice.
Ill Bleed and Resident Evil 2 and 3 and like Skies of Arcadia. Like he had good Dreamcast stuff. And so like that was all today. And like I looked at December, and December we bought, I think $37,000 in trades in December, which I normally typically don't talk numbers because I mean in the grand
Mhm.
scheme of things, I don't think like most people would be able to like put that into contemplation with like what we sell and everything, but
Right.
buying $37,000
That's a lot.
of trades is a lot.
Yeah.
Like when I worked at GameStop, I swear to God, we never had more than 10 or 20 in a week or in a
Mhm.
month. I can't, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking wrong, but I'm trying to think of my P&Ls and I can't think of that ever. But like to do 37,000 trade in a month, I mean, that's bonkers. I couldn't believe it. I just double checked the numbers. I was like, I can't believe we bought that much stuff. But the trade I bought from Chet, that was $8,500. So that's
Mhm.
$9,000 right there in one trade. And then the week between, I don't know if you had this, the week between Christmas and New Year's was
Yeah.
crazy for trades. Like one of the
Yes.
craziest trade weeks we've ever had. And some factors go into that. I know you'll know this, but just for the audience listening, so like when you get closer to the first of the month, you really start to see a lot more trades. Even us, I would argue we're in a nicer town and a nicer part of town.
Mhm.
You still get people who need cash to make bills at the first of the month, especially around Christmas time. People are tight on money.
Yep.
They might sell things they got as gifts they don't want. All these factors come together and you get just dumped on with trades,
Yep.
which is a good thing. That's the fuel that drives the engine. But oh my God, like I was not prepared. And after working at GameStop for 11 years and having my own store for 11 years, there's not much I'm not prepared for anymore. And that was definitely like I was even taken aback and my crew was just stretched thin and we're all just like, when's it gonna end?
Yes,
Like when can we
yes.
have a day where we're not supposed to stay 2 hours late to just get caught up to where we were at the beginning of the
Yes.
day?
Yes, and it's funny because you love it, but you also like, Jesus, another one." Like, sometimes,
Yeah.
like, it's just, like, one right after another. The one day, I think we had 17 systems come in one
Oh
day, and
my
it was
God.
just like, "Oh my god," and most of them were actually, like, PS4s and Xbox Ones because people s somehow found new ones or whatever, around, but, like the Xboxes are just so annoying because you gotta, especially if they wipe their account,
Yeah.
and then you got to put
Yeah.
an account on them, and it's just so time consuming.
And if they haven't
But
updated it, it's just
yeah,
it takes an
yeah,
hour to update, and you're like,
yep,
"Man, this sucks." I
yes,
bought, like, 3 Xbox Ones today, and they all needed updates. I think an update
yes,
went out today
oh,
because even my system started updating it behind the counter. I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And
yeah,
then, like, this one guy's like, "Oh, I updated it and formatted it this morning." Brings it in, put it in, gotta do an update. I'm like, "Oh my god."
yep. That's like my pet peeve. And then now I'm so spoiled with my PC and my in the modern systems with having the SSDs and everything so fast, and then you got to load a game. Oh, it takes forever.
What,
Uh,
game do you use to test Xbox Ones?
um, we have a couple different ones, but I usually put something that just to make sure the disk drive's working, like put something like Mega Man Collection in, or
Okay.
something quick that will read the disk and show it's installing.
So we use and you'll have to tell me if Mega Man is quicker, but we use Resident Evil Revelations 2. That game seems to install relatively like, it's the quickest one we've ever seen as
Mega
far as
Man
installs, but
Mega Man's almost instant, and so is
really?
like
Okay.
Mighty Number Nine is really quick.
That's a good one. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, so those are what we generally go to on those.
So I don't know if this happened to you too, but when we were getting all those trades, this was the weirdest part about it. And it's not really a bad thing, it's actually a good thing, but it was almost more exhausting. So we would get a trade. My guy Charlie and I are working, and we're doing a trade, and then it's like a long trade, takes like 45 minutes. We get done. I start wiping everything out, and I get it cleaned. I get it moved to where we're gonna start gutting it and everything. And then another person would come in with another tote. It was almost like they didn't all come in at once, which was great because them all coming in at once is actually really bad, and everyone has to wait then. But
Hmm.
it seemed like it was back to back to back. As soon as I finished wrapping up a trade,
Yep,
someone came in with a bag or a tote, or 5 bags and a tote. It was crazy. It was
yeah,
crazy.
yep. I had that the one day, and then on top of that, like somebody came in with like a tote, and it was all crap, like right in the middle of like doing
Yeah.
all the other stuff. And I'm like, oh god, the worst time. Like, did everybody just decide we're all going to the store right now, and we're all
Yeah.
going to trade other stuff? Because they're
Again, everyone had the idea that they were the only ones that were doing that.
yeah.
Well, it's like today I had I do the radio thing.
Hmm.
For the listeners who maybe don't know, I do a thing where I simulate the Green Bay Packers football game on Madden Football, and then I give the stats live on the radio. So as part of that, they give me like, "Hey, what's going on at the shop?" And I get like 30 seconds to plug whatever I want.
Yeah.
And so I almost always go with this because it's the truest thing, but I'll say something like, "Hey, you know what it is? Like we just got done with Christmas. We need trades. So bring your old dusty box of old video game stuff. We want to take a look at it, see what you got."
Yep.
So I always say that. And then today I'm helping another customer during the big trade I was working on today, which was like it's like $1,800. And then I'm working on that. And then this guy comes in with a tote and an Atari flashback on top of it. And I'm like, okay, well, so my one guy Dom is helping. We got 3 people working. He's going through and he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, so these are the plug and play Ataris. We don't take these, even though we probably should have, because that would have
Yeah.
sold, but
Yeah.
I digress. Anyway, and then he had 2 original style Xbox 360s, which we also don't take. And I forget what else was in there, but basically we passed on all of it. So it was
Ugh.
kind of good because we don't have a trade. But then I hear the guy back there, he just goes, "Oh, I guess that game trade Gregg guy lied on the radio this morning." And he's joking, but like I hear it, and then I just turn and I go, "Oh no." And then I just turn back to the trade house. Like I don't know what else to say, man. Like you
Yeah.
brought in a box of shit. Like don't guilt me because I'm not taking it.
I I had one the other day where this lady called, and she's asking about selling her old Sega Genesis to us. But as I'm talking to him, I find out it's one of the at games ones,
Mm.
the ones with the built-in games. And I actually have two. I don't want any more of them. Basically, I have those things suck,
Yes, they
and
do.
they're terrible. And I already have a couple, and I didn't want another one. And I'm kind of. It's one of those conversations where the girl is on the phone talking for somebody in the background. You know what I mean? Like the person's
Yeah.
yelling to them in the background. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't. I'm sorry, we won't buy that. I have too many of them. I don't want it. It's not a real Sega Genesis. I was like, I shouldn't have said that way. I go, it's a real Sega Genesis, but it's not. It's a
It's hard
modern
to
one.
describe what it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. And she's like, well, how do you know it's not a real one? I go, I go, it has games built in, right? And she's like, yeah. I go, it's not a real one unless it's the mini, and it's not a mini. I go, it takes cartridges. It's the at games one.
You
And
know what it is. Like, we know
yeah,
what we're doing,
yeah. And I was like, I just don't want it. And they're like getting mad at me that I don't want to buy it from them. And I ended up, I was like real busy at the time, and I ended up just hanging up on them. And then then they called back and they're like saying I was rude, and I'm like, no, I'm being rude to the people that are actually physically here buying things right now. And you're wanting me to give you a video game history lesson on why your Sega Genesis is not a real Sega Genesis.
Dude, it's something in the water. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something in the vaccines. I'm not sure. But it's funny. Because you try to explain things to people like this happens to me a lot too. Someone will bring something in and like VR headsets. I've turned away like 4 PlayStation VR headsets, and I know I don't even think take them, right? Because you don't want to
I
put
don't, because I don't
yeah.
want to put them on my face with COVID and
Dude,
everything. And
that's
yeah,
such a good idea because I'm telling you, you're gonna pass on 80% of them anyway.
yeah.
Because like so we get one in, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, and the balls on the motion controllers are all yellow smoke
Oh
faded.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I know what this is gonna smell like. So before I put it on my head, I'm like inching it over and I'm like, yeah, and I just take it off, like, sorry, man, can't take it. And then they just look at you like, why not? Well, it smells like smoke. I don't know if you guys smoke in the house, but unfortunately, like this has foam, and that foam soaks up all that smoke smell. And I said, and unfortunately, with something that goes on someone's head, people are really sensitive to it, so we just don't take it.
Hmm.
Well, we don't smoke in the house. Well, dude, I don't know what to tell you. This thing smells like it was smoking. I don't know what to tell you. I don't what like and so like ultimately people don't understand that we do want to take these things. Like I want to buy almost everything.
Yeah.
But if we don't think we can sell it or it's not going to sell for any money, like we can't take it. And it sucks. Like, it's like you said, it's not trying to be rude. I could see why people might think that, but like, we're not trying to be rude. We're just like, it's our business, I guess. I just kind of be like, we'll take it if we take it, or we won't if we won't. I mean, like, there shouldn't be any anger there. It's just be like, oh, you don't take that? Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that was exactly what was going on with that Sega Genesis. I don't want it. Like,
yeah, and
why are you
people, I
getting
think
mad?
people get their hopes up though, because a lot of
Yeah,
times, probably people they needed cash, right? And they're like, "Hey,
yeah,
video games are hot right now. I wonder what we can get for this." It's kind of like if you watch Cobra Kai, there's like this scene where Johnny takes his Atari to the pawn shop, and he
yes,
thinks
that
it's
was
worth a bunch
great.
of money because it's old, and
Yeah,
it's not,
it's vintage.
unfortunately.
It's
Yeah.
vintage.
And he's like, I could probably sell this to some hipster douche, but you don't have any hookups with it. Actually, that's the one thing he offers to buy from him is the Atari because it would
Yeah,
sell, and he's not wrong.
yeah, that was pretty funny. So, all right. So, I guess this is a good time to let everybody know. I'm going to ask Greg some football questions. So, if you don't want to hear about football, you might want to move on. Is there
Or
anything you want to add about video games before we do that?
so I do have a crazy customer story, but
Oh, sweet. Let's do
it
that.
can wait till after the football if you want to keep people
No,
roped in.
do
Okay.
do the crazy do the let's do the I'll cut this. Do the crazy let's let's talk about crazy customers because I haven't really had any this week. So I want to hear your crazy customer
I'm getting
story.
immune to them, I think, because I'm having less and less, but I know that there's not less crazy people coming in. So I think I'm just excusing their crazy behavior as normal. But sometimes they stand out. So this a lady called a few days ago and she's like, I have a trade-in. She's like, I have a PS2 and I have a white Wii in the box. Or she's like, or I don't know, is it a PS2 in a box? It's white. We're like, it's probably a Wii. It's not a white PS2. Although there is a white PS2, it's a slim one that came in the SingStar bundle all those years ago. But the super rare, you probably don't have one of those. So she calls and says she has a bunch of games and stuff, and talked to one of my part timers. Actually, it wasn't even to me. And so she comes in the following day, and it's me and my guy Charlie working. And she comes to the counter. She goes, "Oh, thank God, Greg, you're here. I know you'll take care of me. You always take the best care of me." And I'm looking at her like, lady, I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't, recognize you. I don't know who you are, but you apparently love me. And I take pride in that. I know that, like jokingly, Jordan from, my, YouTube channel calls it the cult of Greg, right? We've talked about that
Yeah,
here a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah.
So people get sucked into the cult of Greg, and I love it. I think I'd make a fitting cult leader. Uh, so she says, "Oh, Greg, oh, I'm so glad you're here. You're gonna take good care of me. You always take such good care of me." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm glad. That makes me happy that I've obviously done well in the past, so I'll do well today." And I'm going through stuff, and she's got a Wii, and she does have a white PS2 Slim in there. So
Mhm.
it's the one out of the SingStar bundle. Like, this is incredible. Like, if this thing works, I'm gonna be very happy because this thing's very uncommon. It's very expensive. I'm very happy. It works great. Wii works great. She has a bunch of classic controllers, some off brand, some official brand. She keeps talking to me the whole time. Like she keeps motor mouthing to me when I'm trying to focus on this. And she has a lot of games trying to get it done. We're very busy. This is last week when it was like the height of Christmas craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept dropping these weird hints. Like she's like, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to sell the Wii because, playing it just kind of reminded me of, him. And I was like, okay, so I know she's trying to tell me a story. She's gearing up the courage to tell me a story, but I'm trying to ignore it because I've seen this a million times. So I'm trying to manipulate the situation in such a way where I don't have to hear whatever crazy story she's going to
Yep.
tell me. So then we're doing something and she's like, yeah, I don't even really like playing video games anymore, to be honest. Like, just he loved games and I don't know. I just made me not like him anymore. I'm like, okay. So she's just gearing up, like this is coming. I'm like, there's no way she's not gonna tell me the story. I can just feel it. And she's like maybe 60-year-old lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's sitting right next to the register and she was there the whole time. Like she's just leaning on the counter, like just staring at me when I'm doing this trade. And this trade was 2 systems, probably 10 controllers, and if I had to guess, around 40 or 50 games. Like it's a hefty trade that takes my full concentration, not to mention tons of other customers in the store. So she's just nonstop talking, and then she just looks me dead in the eye and just goes, I know I shouldn't gossip, but I just gotta tell you this. I know I shouldn't gossip, but I'm gonna tell you this. I'm like, here we fucking go. Like I knew it was coming. It's fine. Just go ahead, lady. I'm working on trades. I don't really care. I'm not really listening anyway. So she just goes, well, we moved to Iowa, right? Me and him, we moved to Iowa. I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're talking about. Iowa, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Just do the trade. Put your head down, Greg. Do the trade. Nod and smile, like, Iowa, yeah. And so then she's like, well, we moved to Iowa, and as soon as we get down there, he starts telling me, oh, I don't really love you anymore. I just kind of love you more like a sister than a wife. I don't really love you anymore. And I'm like, so then he goes, she says that he starts smoking weed and smoking dope and he starts sleeping around, and then he would come home and tell me all the women he slept with like I'm his best friend, and he just made me so mad. I'm just like, oh my God, I just got to get this trade done so that I can get you out of my store. And then this is the best part. So this is the best part of the story right here. So she looks me dead in the face and she goes, Greg, and I look up and she goes, I was going to kill him. I was going to kill him.
Shit.
And I just sat there like, okay, are you going to laugh? Are you going to giggle? Like, and she just goes, I was going to kill him. And then she goes, but then I talked to my minister and he told me it's not him doing it. It's the devil. It's the devil working through him, and the devil's trying to get to me through him, and I will not let the devil. I said, devil, I will not. Devil, I will not. And I'm like, Jesus, help me, please. Get me out of here. And so I'm just typing as fast as possible to get her out of there. But and then I'm just like, lady, why are you talking to me? And then it was all said and done. She's like, Greg, you're so nice. Thank you so much for always taking good care of me. I'm like, no problem. I'll see you next time.
Oh my God. So what is it? What is it about customers that just volunteer information they shouldn't? Like you actually reminded me of a lady that said something the other day. It wasn't to me. I was right there though, but I was working with my my business partner's wife, Angela. She was there, and it was another lady, and they were just talking as she's ringing it up, and she just volunteers that she's selling this stuff because she needs some money, and she's done with her son whose fiance tried to kill her. And I'm like, and Angela just kind of plays it off, because she's a veteran. She's been working there a long time. But what is it? Why do people just like blurt stuff out? Like I get people all the time that tell me, yeah, I just got out of the county. I just got out of jail. And I'm like, oh, good. I'll keep an extra eye on you from now on when you're in here.
Like about a month ago, someone started coming in, and he dropped hints that he was in jail a bunch of times, and so he started off the story by basically saying he needs to get his Assassin's Creed games back because he had all these Assassin's Creed games that went to jail, and I got out of jail, and now I don't know where all my Assassin's Creed games are. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a weird flex, but okay. And then there was some other time he was in the store and he just said something like, oh yeah, it's that phone number sounds familiar. He like overheard a customer talking to us and he goes, yeah, phone number sounds familiar. Sounds like the number of my PO officer. Yeah, my PO. Yeah, my parole officer. Like, why the fuck are you? He's like introducing himself just to say like I went to jail. So basically, it's the most interesting thing about him unfortunately. And so he's bringing that out as like, hey, look, I was in jail. Like, that's a good thing. And then like I was talking to somebody about Grand Theft Auto role playing servers in the
Mhm.
store, and I was just like, and the guys explains like, oh yeah, you can be a cop or you can be a regular worker or a criminal. I'm like, well, that it's probably kind of fun to like role play in GTA 5 as like a cop. That'd probably be fun to be a cop. And I see him walk by and he starts grumbling. He's like, oh yeah, yeah, real fun being a cop. Yeah, real fun. Like every time he's in,
Oh,
like we
shit.
set like a timer, like an over under
Uh-huh.
on when he's gonna mention that he went to jail. I'm like, okay, I'm saying 10 minutes in, he's gonna mention he was in jail. And it's like, okay, I'll take the over on that. I'll take the under on that.
Yeah, we do that stuff too because there's some customers that just like drive us nuts, and I always get my business partner when one comes in that we both don't like. I'll just like, I gotta go use the bathroom. I'll be right back. I'll see him
Taking a
coming,
break.
see him coming before he does. Oh, yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was probably the best customer story I've had for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
I haven't
nice.
had too many good ones except for the lady that said she want that her son's fiance wanted to kill her or tried to kill her. Like, nice. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Um,
Oh my goodness.
all right. So this time for real though, I need some football therapy from Greg.
Oh man.
Uh, um, so I'm gonna talk some NFL. So if you don't want to hear football stuff, now's a good time to tune out. So Greg, um, Packers look good.
They look okay.
They look
They look
okay.
okay. They look okay. Their defense is suspect, I will
Uh,
say.
yeah, I will say that seeing them firsthand on Christmas Eve, and I got coal in my stocking for Christmas. But I don't blame the Packers giving me coal. I blame my head coach for giving me coal.
You know,
So
yeah, so that game was so like I've said before, like you adopted me into the Browns as my AFC team. So I'm a Browns fan too. I actually I like the Browns. I
yeah,
want them to win. I like an underdog. Like they're the true underdogs of the NFL, I feel.
yeah.
Historic franchise, like lots of history there.
I,
You want to
if
see them win.
if our good buddy Mike, the Vikings fan, Mike Untitled, is listening, you were right about Stefanski. That's all. you were you were 100% right. I hate to admit it, but you were 100% right. It took a year before I saw it, but oh my god, we are a mess.
It's
So,
yeah,
go-
it's weird because like Packer fans are really spoiled. And
mhm,
like even the ones around here now, there's all these articles about like every other meme I see or whatever is something like, oh, the Packers dominated the Vikings. Oh, the Packers own this, the Packers own the North. Oh, Rodgers owns the Bears. And I'm like, okay, so this is what you guys do. You set yourselves up like your team is unstoppable, and then
mhm.
they get stopped, and then you'd like have a mental breakdown as to not understanding why. Like that team, the special teams is abysmal. It's abysmal. I don't know how they've won that many games with a terrible special teams and a mediocre defense.
'Cause you got Aaron
Because
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is I mean, like the dude's, like he always gives you a shot.
Yes.
And how many people in the offseason were just being like, just let Rodgers go. Get
Those
rid of
are
Rodgers. What a
those
diva. We don't need. I'm like, dude, this whole team falls apart without Rodgers.
yes,
You take
yes.
Rodgers off that team, and the Packers are an
Uh,
8-8 team
yeah.
at best. Well, 8-9, I'll say
Yeah,
now.
let me tell you this for all your Packers thing. I actually think the Browns have a better roster than the Packers, except for quarterback.
Like more balanced. I see that. I think
Yes, yes.
defensively, like just bangers on that defense, man.
Yeah, except our defensive coordinator is a moron. It drives me nuts. And I told you I haven't talked to you since like before the season started. And I remember having this conversation with you where I said we could picking up Clowney, we could probably run the stupid defense we run and it would work. It doesn't work. It doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Well,
Even though we have good we have actually semi decent stats on defense. We are predictable is the problem. We rush four guys almost every play, and we play zone in the back end,
mm,
and we're just predictable. We're predictable on offense. We're predictable on defense, and our quarterback's been hurt all year, so it was just a disaster.
yeah. Do you think like is it just the injuries catching up with Mayfield? Is that what it is? Because
Well,
I he
he
just
got
looked
hurt. Yeah, he got
yeah,
hurt
he
in
looks
like the
off.
second game, and he can't throw right. And here's the problem: like he's inaccurate now. Since one of his best things was his accuracy, And since he got hurt, he's completely inaccurate and everything's high. So he
Mm.
overthrows, he throws high and he throws a lot of picks. And here's the problem. I still felt Baker Mayfield hurt was our best chance to win, but our coach still calls plays like he would call offense like we had a Hall of Famer in the prime of his career back there at quarterback. When we have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, we have 4 really good running backs. And you saw, like, in the second half of the Packers game, we were averaging Nick Chubb was
Dude,
averaging almost 9 yards a
he was
carry.
unstoppable.
He was
I can't believe you
unstoppable.
stopped running the ball. I
And then
couldn't believe
our
it.
coach stops running the ball. Like, and not only that, at the beginning of the game, he didn't run the ball. Then he started running the ball, and then the last 5 plays of the game, he decides we're just gonna pass. We not only was he pass, he takes Nick Chubb out of the game. I don't. He drives me bonkers.
Yeah, so and let me tell you, your quarterback throws 4 picks and you only
Yeah.
lose by 2 points. That's like a
Yes.
miracle.
Yes.
So I'm the first to say, like, somehow the Packers locked up a number 1 seed, which I will argue is a very bad thing because the Packers play like ass after a
Mhm.
bye week. So they're gonna come out flat in the divisional round. They're gonna get smoked, and then everyone's gonna be like, "What happened to the number 1 seed?" It's
Well,
like every year
I
is the same.
I am rooting hard for the Packers. I want you guys to win it all because I do not want Aaron Rodgers upset. I want him staying in Green Bay because I'll tell you what, I got the Browns just played the Steelers, and I was watching the Mannings. You ever watch the Mannings
Yeah,
for Monday
yeah.
night? So they had Aaron Rodgers on, and I'm probably going to scare the shit out of you when he says this. It scared the shit out of me. He was talking about all these good coaches at Pittsburgh and like this one YouTuber called Pittsburgh Dad. Like he is in love with Pittsburgh, and if he goes to Pittsburgh, I swear to God, I'm done as a Browns fan.
Oh
I
no.
give up. I'm gonna throw in the towel because I don't know. I just can't. I hate the Steelers, and if they go from fucking Ben Roethlisberger to
Ooh.
Aaron Rodgers, I'm done. I give up. I'm broke.
So ultimately, I think if Rodgers wins the Super Bowl this year, I think he'll retire.
You think so?
I
Really?
do. I do. Maybe would come back for one more year, but there'd be no reason to come back for one more year with another team.
He's got to defend his title if he wins. That's why
Yeah, I
I'm
could see
I'm
that.
all in on the Packers. Packers.
I could see that. I can't see them winning a Super Bowl and then him leaving to go to another team for 1, maybe 2 years.
I'm
I
gonna
don't think that's his style.
I'm gonna have to put on my Packers jersey. I do have a Clay Matthews Packers jersey.
I have an old oh, who was it? The Jermichael Finley. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I
He was
do.
like that super all pro tight end and then just got hurt. Unfortunately, his neck injury prevented him from
Yeah.
being truly great. But he's also one of the only 2 people of
Mhm.
like that played with Aaron Rodgers that talk mess about him. So
Yeah.
it's him and Greg Jennings. So anytime like a news article wants to take a dump on Aaron Rodgers, they're like, Greg Jennings, what do you have to say? And Greg Jennings is like, man, he was just kind of a bad teammate, sore loser, grumpy attitude. Like, well, that's what he always is because he didn't like you.
Yeah.
Not that I'm picking up for Rodgers. I mean, he is a total like he's very sensitive, thin-skinned kind of diva. So
Mhm.
like if you make him mad, he's like very pouty. And for somebody who's, good looking, super athletic, top position, arguably at your position in the NFL, like there's no reason for you to have low self-esteem. Like, what's wrong with you? You know?
Yeah. I don't get it
Um,
with him, but I'll tell you what, I enjoy how big of a how he likes to prod the media and
oh my
poke
god.
them and
Yeah. Yeah, I do actually like that too. It's fun because like if you understand like internet culture and kind of like trolling
Mhm.
and stuff like that, like that's
Yeah.
legitimate trolling. He's
Yes.
saying things incorrect on purpose to like get a rise out of people. Like when he was
Yeah.
on Pat McAfee and he's like, "Oh look, I've got Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand on my bookshelf." Like he's
Yes.
totally fucking with those people. And then it
Yes.
becomes a big story. Oh, see, Aaron Rodgers is a jerk because he reads Ayn Rand. You're like, well, like he just got you, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I
Um,
I
but
love he's probably my favorite quarterback in the league right now, to be honest.
yeah, and I don't know. So, and I actually think he's grown a lot over the last couple years. Like he
Mhm.
really has worked hard on this whole like I got to stop caring what other people think,
Mhm.
get right in my own head, stop, whatever. And he's played lights out last year, and he's playing pretty damn close to lights out right now. So,
Yeah.
which I mean, if okay, tinfoil hat time. What if Gutekunst drafted Jordan Love first, round just to motivate Aaron Rodgers for a couple more years.
Wow,
Like,
that's some
because
next level.
that's the sort of thing that like would work though. Like
Mhm,
Aaron Rodgers thinking he's gonna get replaced. You want to light a fire under his ass? Like he sometimes I think needs, and he normally finds his own chip on his shoulder, right? Like
mhm,
I was drafted 25th when I should have been drafted number 1 overall, and San Francisco didn't take me, so I'm gonna beat the shit out of them for a decade or two. And then it's this didn't happen, that didn't happen. I got to sit behind Favre for 3 years. Then Favre was making me look bad in the locker room in front of all the guys for a bunch of years, harassing me all the time. So he's like, so basically, he has this huge chip on his shoulder, and he takes that into an NFL Hall of Fame career.
mhm.
But every now and then, like that was 15 years ago. So now it's like, well, now what do you do to like motivate yourself? Well, I got to find a new chip, I guess.
Yes. Speaking of motivation, I think like us going to the playoffs last year and our coach winning Coach of the Year
Oh man.
actually was bad because I think it went to our coach's head, and I think he's stubborn now, and he doesn't want to admit when he should give up play calling, because he's very predictable. He abandons the run, as you saw in that game all the time.
Yeah, I can't believe that, man. Like 9 yards a carry.
Yeah,
Like you don't even have to do anything except run the ball. And you've
it
got a
was
quarterback that's obviously hurt.
hurt.
He should just be
Yes,
managing the game. Why are you putting it in his hands like to be
and
the to
it,
be
it
the
was
holy one?
and it was like that all year. It just they're very heavy on analytics, almost to the point where because they're 100% analytics, they're predictable. Because like what they'll do is and what I see teams doing to them is they'll know if teams know if they run certain defenses, the Browns will counter with certain formations on offense, and that'll take Nick Chubb out of the game. So um, I want them to just you have one of the best running backs in the game. Just freaking line up and say our guys are better than your guys, not try to react to the other team. It's so frustrating. They
Yeah.
in the worst part was is Baker Mayfield clearly hurt, all played terrible all year, um, but yet our coach still called plays like he had a Hall of Famer back there. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, that's weird. And I went through that a couple years in the Mike McCarthy years, which of course he's having great success in Dallas. Because I think he's someone who got complacent in Green Bay as well. He's like, well, I got Aaron Rodgers. All I got to do is build a basic ass offense and we should win. And
Hmm.
they do. They win and they do really well. And then either Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and the rest of the season's gone, or they get into the playoffs and then they lose to a team that's more organized.
Yeah.
And so that was really frustrating watching Mike McCarthy just and a shitty defensive coordinators forever. Like I feel like we never had a good defensive coordinator, like ever.
See
And I
the
finally feel like we have one now,
yeah.
but it's also we have these great players they picked up on the mad cheap, like
Hmm.
Rasul Douglas. Like that guy was on the Arizona practice squad, and the Packers signed him. The dude's got like 6 picks and 2 pick 6s
Nice.
this year. That
Well,
Devondre Campbell, he's like on every play, dude, and he's just some guy that was I think on the Dallas squad or something they picked up. Like they've got 2 or 3 guys that they got for minimum salaries on practice squad this year. And
yeah.
just
Who
balling
is
out.
the guy that picked off Mayfield? Was it a couple times? I think he had two.
Yeah, so at the end of the game with the questionable holding
That was
possibilical,
interference, but
it was totally interference.
yeah.
Um,
To
so
be
that was
fair though,
Rasul Douglas, yeah.
yeah, I'm not mad that the refs like screwed us. I'm like used to the refs screwing us. I'm mad that our coach was passing the damn ball.
Yeah.
Like run the damn ball. Like I don't understand. Even what was funny about that? We had a bunch of players out for COVID that week and the week
Yeah.
before. And the players that were out with COVID were on Twitter saying run the damn ball. And it like showed that a lot of the players aren't happy with the coach. We have huge problems now because of
Well,
that.
let me tell you, so as a Packers fan watching that game, final drive, you're watching that and you're like, they're gonna burn the clock, they're gonna run it down, and they're gonna kick a field goal and they're gonna win. Like I thought the game was over. I'm like, this all you have to do is
Eh,
be a normal game manager and this game is
Yeah,
over.
as a Browns fan, we knew how it was going to end. Though we were thinking the other way.
Man, so like that's kind of like Detroit fans. I feel really bad for you guys. That's not fair. You should have some hope when you see that. But
Yeah.
you know, so I watched that and so I wanted to say this cuz I think I kind of mentioned it on Twitter. We were chatting back and forth a little bit, but like what a terrible game. I was mad with how that game ended. I did not like that at all. I don't want to win on a call like that. I want the Packers to be like a definitive decisive win that they put away a team,
Hmm.
at home, not a team that you were up by 14 in the fourth quarter and then you let come back and you almost let come back and win the game. Like that was a complete failure of offense and defense in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And you're like, so this is supposed to be a number one seed, like
Yeah.
NFC, NFC championship team. Like, come on, I'm not buying it. Defense played terribly in that game. And then against the Cousins-less Vikings, they they look really good. And so now
Mhm.
people are like, oh, that defense is pretty good. I'm like, come on, man. Like
See,
that team. And again, though, I don't know how Dalvin Cook only rushed for like 19 yards or whatever. It was
yeah.
crazy that he
It
didn't get more touches, but maybe the Packers do have like a shutdown run defense and you just
yeah.
don't know it because they
See,
stop running the ball because they get
I
shut down.
I actually thought the Browns were gonna have, like, a top 5 defense, and I guess statistically, they're close to that, but, like, whenever you needed them to make a play, they never did. They were predictable. They hardly ever got turnovers because it's just they didn't play, they didn't take any risks. They never jumped any balls. They're always playing off. They're always playing soft. So it drives me nuts. The Browns can only have two types of coordinators. They can either have the ones that blitz every freaking down and the ones that never blitz. And right now we're the ones that never blitz. So Miles Garrett gets double teamed every play. Um, and so does Clowney because we only rush 4 or 3 guys
Yeah.
and hope that Miles Garrett makes a play. That's our defense.
Yeah, and zone defense too,
Oh,
like Rodgers is gonna eat you up if you
yeah.
give him more
Oh,
than 5
and
seconds. I mean,
the best was when you guys scored your third touchdown, we had a third stringer. We actually blitzed. We blitzed. We blitzed everybody and had man-to-man coverage, but we had a third stringer covering Adams. That was
mm,
fantastic.
mm. That's not gonna work. It's
Yeah,
just,
no, and
that
I'm like, what is our defensive coordinator doing? Just have Denzel Ward go wherever Adams is. I didn't get it.
yeah, that and to be fair, like it's really hard to cover that guy. So maybe they
Right.
were like, "Hey man, just
But
put
you're
this
you're
guy on him."
you're gonna blitz everybody and have a guy that normally doesn't play covering one of the best receivers in the league. Good luck with that.
So last year and when they lost to the Packers lost to the Bucks in the NFC Championship game. There's this one of our cornerbacks, Kevin King, is god awful. I
Mm.
don't know how he's a professional football player. He's the most inconsistent player I've ever seen. And he got burned like 3 times, including the bomb like right before the half,
Uh-huh.
which gave them a touchdown right before they got the ball back. Like it was just like,
Yeah,
and you're
that was
watching this and you're
brutal.
going, man, like if he doesn't get burned those 3 times, like that's a totally different game. And I know that's like the stupidest thing to say because he
Well,
did
it's
get burned three
true.
times,
And
but
into that situation at the end of it was at the end of the half,
that
wasn't
was
it?
the
It
end
was
of the
like
first half. He got
you just
burned on like
gotta
that.
keep him in front of you.
Yeah, it just don't let him get overhead. Like it's not, just hold him. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I do like their secondary more this year than I did last year. Um,
Who's your defensive coordinator this year?
oh God, what's his name? I'm totally spacing. I was trying to think of it earlier. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. He's decent though. I better look it up. I'm not gonna be much of a Packers fan here.
I know my defense coordinator name because I say fire him about 8 million times every time I watch.
Oh, it's Joe Barry. Yeah, I knew that.
Oh,
Sorry.
Joe Barry.
So, like he seems to be good. Like he's got good talent this year. But what
Mhm.
happens a lot with the Packers is like they spend a lot of money on big name talent, and then their special teams. Ultimately, why their special teams is ass is because they don't have like their backup players, their third stringers and stuff are terrible. So the people that we put on special teams are just bad. And so like the special teams coordinator is like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like you gave me just like some guys off the off the football field. Like I don't know what to do with this crap. Um but the defense, they looked okay. I don't know. I won't trust it until I see him go up against like a really, really good team. I mean, they let the backup quarterback. I know he's pretty good, but the backup quarterback for Baltimore, like
That guy is actually
Hundley,
pretty
right?
good.
Like he's not.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. Like I think he'll be a
Yeah.
starter somewhere in
I
a couple
think
of years.
yeah, I think next year he's going to probably start somewhere else.
But even that, and then like against the Browns too, like that was glaring to me. I'm like, if Baker hadn't thrown 4 picks, like you guys win that game like 34-21. Like
Yeah.
it just
That
and on 2 of the picks, they didn't do anything with it. Like they
no,
literally didn't they
and that
punted after
that
them.
game was basically a microcosm of the season. Like it just like that's how our entire season went. It just like every game was the same. Like, oh, it's so frustrating.
Well, and So like I would say the same thing about the Packers. That's the microcosm of the Packers season. They play really good for a little bit, then they play really bad, then they somehow squeak out a win. And like that's fine. That'll get you to I guess apparently a number 1 seed in the NFL. And I'm not saying they're not good.
Mhm,
I'm very impressed with this team. I think it's very good. But that team that doesn't get you the Super Bowl. That
no.
doesn't get you past the Buccaneers even with Antonio Brown's nonsense. And like it's
That
not
was
getting you
crazy.
past Tom Brady in the playoffs. That dude's Superman in the playoffs. He does not whiff. He does not
No,
blink, man. That dude stares into the abyss and just will beat you every time. And now he's
yeah,
in the NFC instead of the damn AFC.
yeah. We'll see though. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how they play with Antonio Brown shenanigans, quitting
I
mid.
hope that's a distraction, but I don't think it's going to be enough of a distraction. I don't know.
There's got to be something else going on there if he, for him to. I don't think that guy's been right since he took. I think he's got CTE, to be honest, Antonio Brown.
Probably he took some shots early on,
Yeah,
man. I
yeah.
mean,
He
but
just.
also you mix that with a little bit of like explosive personality and
Mhm,
like arrogance and
yeah.
CTE acting a fool, like those things all together is a pretty deadly mix. I mean, and obviously you want him to not be such a have such troubles. You know, you want
So,
him to figure it out. I don't know.
so who you think's going in the AFC? I think the Chiefs, but
They find a way to win,
mhm,
but I still really like the Bills.
the Bills.
The the Patriots seem like paper dolls to me, man. I don't know why, but like they put up these crazy numbers, but I don't think against like a
Ugh,
normal team they do that. They
yeah,
just
they
I
they
don't
s-
know. They don't seem right to me.
they spanked us, but that was the I wasn't impressed with them, even though they beat the shit out of us. But the reason they beat the shit out of us though is because Bill Belichick's such a good coach, and our coaches are so predictable. Like
Yeah.
when you see, I mean, Bill Belichick, they literally knew everything we were doing on offense and defense. They picked the perfect play every time on offense or defense, and it was in all it was. I mean, as a Browns fan, I can with pretty high degree of certainty, I could tell you what the Browns were going to do before they did it. And if I can do that, God, just imagine what Bill Belichick can do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point, and that's where like coaching makes a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so I don't know. That's what I'm kind of feeling. I'm not feeling anybody out of the West. I mean, I don't
I could see the Bills beating
but
the Chiefs,
I
but
like
but
the
I still
Bills.
think the Chiefs would beat them.
They again, that's a team that's so weird. They could be down 21 points in the 4th quarter and they'll still come back. Like that team can score so fast. I mean,
Yeah, they can.
I don't know. Mahomes looks like he's still hurt or something's off there. Uh,
Hmm.
and the Packers almost beat them without Rodgers, which is crazy. Like how well the defense played against that team. I don't understand that at all. Like I don't know how they stopped that team like that. But they almost won like
We were up
without
on
Rodgers.
the Chiefs almost 30 on them, and they came back and beat us.
That was in the playoffs last year, right? That was
No,
the
well,
was
yeah,
that
we
the
lost
season
to them
too?
in the playoffs, but we opened the season against them,
Oh man.
and that was before Baker was hurt. Baker put up almost like 500 yards. We scored shitload of points, and then we played. This is what our coaches do when we get leads. They play not to lose. They
Mhm.
start playing prevent offense and defense, and the Chiefs came back and beat us.
That's a big Green Bay strategy, especially under Mike McCarthy. If you're up 2 touchdowns, just conservatively run the ball to try to
Oh,
get the clock down,
yeah.
but then they know that's coming, and so you run it first down, run it second down, it's 3rd and 9, you pass it incomplete, and you punt it away. Like, you
Mhm.
didn't even burn that much time off the clock, and now you are giving them so many chances to come back, and that's like a Green Bay staple of defense. And it's not even the coaching this year. It's obviously a different coaching staff last 3 years, and they still do it. So I don't,
Yes.
it
Oh,
drives me crazy.
I
Like
hate
playing
playing.
not to lose. Ugh.
Oh, I hate it. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Let me ask you
Oh,
a question. So, do
sure.
you think we're gonna get a? Are you rooting for the? Is it the Jaguars that have to win so that there's a kneel down game between? I'm totally spacing, but there's a scenario in the AFC where one team, I think
Right.
it's the Colts. I think the Jaguars have to beat the Colts, and if that happens, then the 2 teams that play later in the day, if they tie, they both get into the playoffs. Do you
Oh,
think we'll ever see an NFL game where 2 teams just will kneel on the ball till the game's over?
no, I
I
don't think
can't.
you'll ever see that because I think people would get they have too much pride. Even the teams that suck, they have a little bit of pride. They
Plus
want to.
viewership, man, like sponsorships and
Yeah.
viewership. No one's gonna watch that. No advertiser's gonna be happy about paying money to be on during those games.
Yeah, we got screwed by when we were getting screwed by COVID. When all like it was funny because all our players were tested positive, and I went to we played the Raiders and we were missing like 20 players, and we still almost won with like some third string. He's a semi. He's been in the league. The quarterback, Nick Mullins, played for San Francisco. Anyway, we still almost won, and we should have won, but we were missing 20 players, and only one of them was really sick. They were all asymptomatic.
Yeah.
And then we played you guys. We were missing, I think, 12 or 13 guys or whatever. So we got hosed those 2 weeks, and then the next week the NFL changes the rules.
Yeah, just pushes games back.
Yeah.
Oh, we can play games on Tuesday nights now. No big deal. What?
Yeah. After we got screwed for 2 weeks, it took L's because we were missing half our team. I hate the NFL sometimes. It's so cruel to be a Browns fan.
Man, I'll tell you, it was such a high watching them in the playoffs last year. Like if it had been a Browns Green Bay Super Bowl, that'd have been so awesome. Like I know we were both rooting for it. And this a lot of your listeners might remember, but originally the plan was you were going to come to Green Bay this year because the Browns played at Lambeau.
I would have if it was any other day.
And then Christmas Day is the game. Like, come on, any other game, dude. We would have been able to hang. So
yeah, I don't know what division we play this year. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe we'll play you guys again.
Well, if they play in Cleveland, then I'll come down for a game. So
that'd be cool.
I can come check out the shop. So
yeah, I want to make it up there sometime. Are there any conventions soon or anything around you?
In April will be Midwest in Milwaukee, which is about an hour and a half away. So yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's that far. I mean, obviously, it's just if you're driving from Cleveland, like it's not much further to just go up to Green Bay. But
yeah,
that'd be the closest one. There's not really a lot of conventions around here. Chicago, I think, gets some, but to go from Chicago to Green Bay then is 2.5 hours. So now you're talking like it's kind of a waste of a day to have to drive up and back, in one day. But
yeah, all right, yeah, I definitely want to check out your shop. I look at the pictures all the time. So at least when I was checking out your reviews, I was looking at the pictures. I was showing my business partner. It's like, yeah, it's a pretty nice shop.
So thank you. And I noticed something on Twitter, and you and I do have a clashing ideology.
What's that?
When it comes to bookended games.
So yeah.
I heard on Twitter that you like to your spine games go in the middle of the section. And I just want to let you know that I find that revolting. It just turns my stomach, and I just wanted you to know.
Well, Greg, I am kind of getting old, and I don't like to go down towards the ground. So when I'm looking for games, they go in the middle for me.
And so your buddy on Twitter,
Ty.
Yeah. So Ty, he made a comment, and he's like, I can't get down there. I don't want to look at it. And he's not wrong. So like the GameStop studies that they did showed that bookended games on the bottom sold even less than regular bookended games.
Yes.
What I can't get over is how they shadow the rows below them. And it's like, it's the only thing I've tried it. And I'm like, oh, it's like, I can't get it out. Like I can't get it into my brain that that's okay. And most of it's just because when I was at GameStop, that's not how they did it. So it's just ingrained in my brain that it's wrong. But like, that's the one piece I can't get over, because I don't disagree with that you'd want to bookend everything in the middle, because the face out stuff on the bottom is going to be easier to see than a bookended game on the bottom. So chances of selling a game on the bottom shelf is gonna be better if it's faced out like that. It totally makes sense, but I saw I'd rib you for it. So.
I'm gonna send you some pictures. I don't think the shadows are too bad. Maybe it's just my store, the way it works, but yeah, I don't see that.
It's like I said, it's most likely just because it doesn't look like how I remember GameStop to be. Like it's a time capsule frozen in time of when I left.
And to be honest, it might be something as simple as everything I did at GameStop. I could never get promoted in that damn place, so I just do things differently than I did.
I love our different paths there. Like I took everything because it's what was comfortable to me, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do the opposite of this place just because F those guys.
Actually, I'll tell you, to go back to video gaming real fast. One of my pet peeves when I first got to GameStop. This shows you how old I am, though, too. One of my first manager meetings, I went to the store, and they were still doing. They had everything behind the counter by SKU, not alphabetical, by SKU. So you had to look in the computer. You had to scan a game in to get the SKU number, or it was printed on the sticker sometimes, and then you had to go find it and I had to argue with them to go to alphabetical, and they were like, oh, but SKU order is so much simpler. I'm like, okay. When you hire a new person, is it easier to explain SKU or alphabetical? They probably should know alphabetical, or you shouldn't hire them.
How do we put games on the shelf? By SKU or by alphabetical?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So do you put your guts away alphabetical?
Yes.
Okay, so I do too. But I was looking around for a new POS like a year or two ago,
Hmm.
and I contacted some company, and I forget what it is, but they were horses' asses anyway. But the guy called me, and basically he missed a meeting we had scheduled for them to walk me through some of the software. And
Hmm.
then he called me like an hour later and was like, "Oh," and he wouldn't just say, "Hey man, I messed up. Can we reschedule it?" It was always like, "Oh, I had to do this," and then like basically making excuses, which I don't know. I don't have time for that shit. Um, and just admit you messed up, and then we'll move on, and we can be friends again. But nope, doesn't happen. But he starts telling me he's like, so let me ask you this: how do you catalog all your games and guts? I'm like, we do it by alphabetical. He goes, oh, yeah, rookie mistake. But I could show you a better way. I'm gonna show you a better way, my friend. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing? Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm
That's a
not
bold
interested in your shitty
strategy.
software anymore. So you can just buzz off, dude. And then I basically just told him to f off, and I just took off. And I like how arrogant and stupid. And then to tell somebody, it's like when you get those emails. I don't know if you get these. I get these spam emails all the time that are like, "We looked at your website, and your website sucks. We can optimize your website, make it better." I'm like, you just insulted me by telling me my website
I
sucks.
I get calls like that, basically telling me my website sucks, and I know my website sucks. But here's the thing: my website is basically the front page just is basic information.
It's informational. Yeah, it's not like a
Right,
storefront. Yeah,
right. I'm not trying to sell things on there, and it serves one purpose for me, and that's I have to advertise the new games that go on sale, so I can be part of the sales, and I have to.
oh, okay, that makes sense.
So I put the game sales. I have a game sales page, and it's whatever. Like if Microsoft's having a game sale or Sony's having a game sale, I have to advertise them in order to get that promotional price. So
Makes sense to me.
that's all it is. I really don't care how it looks, as long as I get the promotional price.
Does that work? Can you do that on social media, or do you have to have a website?
You have to have a website, or you have to advertise it in the store, and you have to take a picture of it in the store, which I do. I mean, Sony, some usually like the Black Friday stuff, Sony requires I have like a section for the Sony games, and
Hmm,
then I also have to advertise it on my website. But mostly companies, you just got to advertise it on your website, or somehow you got to advertise it, and then you have to prove to them. So I have to take a screenshot of the website and send it to my rep. And yeah, it's a pain in the butt,
yeah,
but
sounds like it.
it's worth it to have all the Black Friday deals and all that stuff.
Well,
So
there's a legitimacy there, I think, which I definitely can appreciate, and I know I'm missing out on. Like to know that Sony knows, that I'm dealing with a Sony rep that knows that my store is an official like video game selling store would be awesome. Like there's a validity there that
it,
I
it,
think is
it
neat.
is, but it isn't too, because like they are doing that as a way to get free advertising. So basically, you're advertising for them, and they're giving you a deal on a game.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like a way for them to get cheap advertising.
they're not
So
they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. You're saying?
no, hell no, they're doing it for it's free advertising. Well, it's
Uh,
not free, but it's cheap advertising for them. So I they get what they pay for with me. They get the cheap advertising.
nice
Yeah.
emphasis on the cheap.
Yeah. If they want to pay more, they'll get better advertising. But thank you. Thank you. I think that's about all I got for
Dude,
tonight.
always a great time, man. Like
Yeah.
this is man, I'm exhausted today too, and all I want to do is come home and be like, I just want to eat my sandwich and like go to bed.
I,
But I'm
I
like, but this is like the favorite. Like, I love this, man. I love coming on here, so I appreciate you always inviting me on.
Me too. I enjoy talking to you because it's nice to talk to a peer, somebody that goes through the same things. So it's therapeutic for me, especially with the Browns, to get that shit off my chest.
I'm glad I could be here for you. So you're part of the cult of Greg now. You just kind
Yeah,
of like
I'm
you
part of the
absorbed it,
cult.
and you can tell me anything. Tell me that you almost got killed by your sister-in-law. Whatever.
Yeah. So, but thanks. If you ever have any questions or anything, like you want to throw anything off me, feel free. Or if you want me to come on your podcast that you very very rarely do.
I owe you one so bad. I'm just gonna have to get you on it just so that,
Yeah.
and then that'll count as one for me so that I can get my listeners off my back too. I just gotta get you on it because, uh, well, I owe you like 5, but I need to get you on there
No,
because it'd
no.
be fun to do. And I always appreciate your time, man. Thank you. Everybody listening, uh, you can also find me on Twitter at Game Trade Greg. Like I said on my podcast, you get funny tweets, you get video game tweets, you get football tweets, and you get pictures of me cleaning cat piss off of video game tweets. So it's got everything, really, like something for everything. And bring the kids, whatever you got.
Greg's Twitter is much more family friendly than mine. So, but thanks again, and I think that's all I got. So,
All right, buddy. I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. All right, Craig. That'd be the end. So
All right,
thanks.
buddy.
I
Peace out,
appreciate
buddy.
it. Yep.
Yeah,
I'll
dude,
see you.
it's always so much fun, man. Just take it easy.
Yep. Thanks a lot. Go Packers. I'll be rooting for them.
Yeah, buddy. All right.
All right. See ya.
Later.